Hello everyone, welcome back. This will be part 2 of the hospital video. A couple things before we get started. I did take the liberty of going through and I just, I cut out some doors in some of the hallways. Also redid the way the wall segments were set up. I went through and I was UV unwrapping some of them, and I realized that the longer wall segments, like this, which I'll have to delete and replace with the shorter ones, when you UV unwrap them, they don't fit into a 1x1 UV grid. And so I've gone along and I've shortened them. There's still some that I have to do. I got to replace the ones that I already laid out and all of that. And I got to redo this. But yeah, I needed to do that because, I need them to fit in 1x1 UV grids in order to unwrap them properly and not have to go through the whole UDIM process or extra materials, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swap all of these out. I'm going to go ahead and finish the wall, just putting the wall pieces in. And then once I get that done, we will be back and we will move on to the next portion of this project. All right, see you soon. All right, I wanted to give you guys a quick overview of how I made the doors. It's really simple. Tons of videos on YouTube of how to do this. But essentially what I did was I lined everything up. So we're going to line this up with that. In this door, this is a double door, but I want it to be more centered than this one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to snap to grid. And I'm going to move it over and probably put this halfway. Yeah, there's 2.5 on each side. And then you just put in some loop cuts, edge loops. When we do that, we want the door to be the same, the rough opening to be the same size. And so we're going to put in our cuts, and we're just going to drag them over, press Control to snap to edge. And there we go. Now, as you can see, it's... Oh, okay. As you can see, we ended up with that. We have this bottom face here. We're not going to need that. So we can go ahead and go back to solid. And we're just going to delete these faces. And then we will select these, add a face, and do the same thing all the way around. That's just one way of doing it. You can also do bridge edge loops as well. But there, now we have the door piece. And it's going to be a unique door piece since, the wall parts of this one are not the same. And this is only going to be used in one spot, so it is pretty unique. Well, maybe 2 spots, but yeah. Just wanted to share the process of doing that with you guys in case you weren't aware of how to do it. So I'll be back once I finish filling out all the walls. Okay, so this is what we got. I have all the walls in, I have all the doors in. Yeah, everything as far as the shell goes is pretty much set up. I did have to make one more unique piece for this doorway at the end of the hall. And so what I think I'm going to do now is we're going to start building doors. Now, none of these doors are going to be enterable, so they should be fairly easy to make. And based on the reference, they were all somewhat the same except for the double doors. There are some variations there. So we're going to get going with that. The first thing we're going to start with is I'm just going to focus on this. We're just going to build the door frame. So I'm going to select this outer edge here. I'm going to duplicate it with Shift D, and then I'm going to press that to break it out by selection. I'm just going to move it out a little bit, and I'm going to go over here to modifiers. And let me see, let me look at my reference really quick just to see what the door frames look like. Okay, so they're just basic square door frames. So let's go into orthographic, and we're going to add a solidify modifier. And we'll hit even thickness. And we're going to bring it out to right about there, I think. I think that'll be fine. I set the offset to 0, so that is sort of centered on that line. And I think that's a good thickness, so I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And then we're going to go back and we're going to focus just on the door frame. We're going to bevel some of these edges. What we can do is we can go through and we can clear all the seams. We're not going to need those. We'll mark separate seams for all this. Okay, I'll just put a little bit of a bevel. We'll just do 3 of them. And then we'll do the outside edges, as well as the inside edges. And we will just do a little bit, just like that. And hit shade smooth. Okay, so we got some anomalies up here, which is fine. We'll just go to normals, weighted normals, and that'll fix that up. We're going to go ahead and apply that. Now for the doors themselves, I'm going to use this, not that, this edge right here. I'm going to duplicate that, break it out. No, I may have lost it. Let's see here. There we go. I'm going to drag this out. I may make actually these door frames a little bit, just a little bit thicker, now that I think about it. So we'll go like that, and we'll scale on the X just to a little bit of thickness. And what we want to do now is apply scale. And we're going to go back to the door. And we are going to make the door, let's drag it over here. Let's go into wireframe. We'll make the door something like, let's go ahead, actually, and all over the place. Let's connect those, and then go back to that, and we will extrude it on the X. I don't know, how about an inch? Let's do 1.5 inches. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, and then the design of the door, we'll just focus on that, go back into solid. And what I want to do is I want to actually add a face. So go there, add a face to that. We don't actually, since these, you're never going to see the other side of the door, we're not going to add another, this back side here. But what we are going to do is we want to add a couple edge loops. And so we're going to go into orthographic, and is it going to let me add an edge loop? No, it's not. So let's try merging everything by distance. And rotation and scale. Okay. Well, I'm doing it the wrong side. Might help to be looking at, no, still not gonna let me. So let's back up a little bit. So what I did is I just brought in a plane and redid the door real quick. So now for the design of this door, we're gonna want to bring in an edge loop. Make sure the door is selected. And we want 2 of them. I'm going to scale these on the Y till they are probably about like, I'm going to say about like that. And then we're going to bring in another edge loop. And we're going to drag it down about right there. And then we bring in a double edge loop, scale it on the Z until it's about like that. And then we will bring it down. Probably like that, I think. And then we'll bring in another double edge loop, scale on the Z. This one's got to be thinner. And then do something like that. Perhaps, maybe not, maybe move it down just a tad. Then you want another edge loop right up here at the top. Probably right there. I think that looks good enough, I suppose. We could probably pull this one down, make this a little bit thinner. And then, no, that one's good. This one does have to come down though. It's slightly thicker at the top, looks like. Probably something like that. And then what we're going to have to do is we need to inset these wee bits. I'm going to actually go into here and go into wireframe. Let's merge everything by distance. Select. Wait a second. Let's get rid of all of these faces real quick, since we are not going to need them. Hit X, go to faces. All right, and this one, we'll go like that, go into wireframe. And we want to Alt S, and we want to pull it in. Probably right there, but you know what? Let's select all 3 of these, because they're all 3 going to be roughly the same. Right about there. Okay, and these have to come in just a tad as well. Go into, I still got those selected? No, I do not. Go into wireframe, Alt S, and just bring those back to right about there, about half the distance. Back into solid. And yeah, I think that's good. We do have a couple things that we need to take care of. We got extra faces up here. Actually, you know what? Now that I think of it, let's go back and let's not extrude those back. Let's just keep those like that. I think it'll look better. Okay, and so now let's go ahead and bevel. So I'll select that, select that, select that. Now the reference that I'm using for this, these aren't actual geometry, it's just flat. It's just a texture that they put on, but I want to make it look a little better. Just bevel that a little bit, like that. And then we will Shift Alt and click that. Let's get the whole. First off, let's merge by distance. Make sure her scale and everything. And we just want to go through and select this entire edge here. We're not going to do the inside ones yet. Just the outside ones for the time. All right, so I have them all selected. Hopefully I didn't miss any. Let's just get a view on that and just bevel these slightly. Probably like that. We'll go ahead and we will shake it smooth. Now we're going to go ahead and do the inside of these. Give them a little bevel as well. And then we're going to go ahead and do these outside edges. A little bevel on those. And then we'll do the actual outside edges. And we'll just do a little bevel on them. And I think that looks fine. Let's go ahead and add a weighted normals modifier to it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. I do not like these two edges being, so that would be SZ0, but looks like we're gonna have to do them one at a time. And we're gonna want to drag them down and slap them to that. There. All right. Now the doorknob. Okay, so what I'm going to do for the doorknob is, I need to zoom in on my reference a little bit. Okay, so the doorknob's just going to be a simple little rectangle. So let's go ahead and let's bring in a plane, rotate Y90, scale it down, scale it, whoop, don't do that. Let's apply some scale to that. Let's bring it out just a little bit. Okay, go into orthographic. And it sits really close to the edge. And then looks like it's about this far from this little beam right here. And so what we'll do, we'll go into edit mode and we'll drag it up. Let's see, yeah, it seems to be going pretty high up the side of the door, but it also is wider, probably about like that. Let's see, I know I just want to bring my little guy in here real quick just to kind of get an idea of how it's going to look with him next to it. Let's focus just on those two. Oh, I guess we need to select the doorknob plate as well. Yeah, I guess that'll look okay. A little big. Could probably scale it down a tad. A little more. It's probably not going to be exactly like the reference, but the goal is to get it close enough. So we have that. So let's focus just on. I want the door in there too. No, I need to actually be pressing Shift and not Control. Okay, so I'm going to apply scale to this again, since we did, in fact. And then I'm going to go into edit mode, and we're going to extrude it along the X, just a tad, enough to be able to sit it in there. We're going to shift and click the edges, and we're going to bevel those. And this is just a plain plate. And so let's add 4 in there, make it a little rounded. And click that, and we'll do 3 for this. Make that a little rounded. Shade smooth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this, and I'm going to mark it sharp. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, we'll leave it sharp. I think that looks fine. All right, and then the doorknob, it's a circular doorknob, and so we're going to set origin to geometry, bring in a, that's not what I want to do. We're going to bring in a circle, scale Y90, and this is going to be the little part that the doorknob connects to, and I'll probably do something, I know what I'll do. We'll go like that. We will, by scale and rotation, look at it from the side. We're going to extrude it along the X. No, that'd be the Y. So let's go ahead and, no, it would be the X. I just wasn't in edit mode. So EX, extrude it out just a little bit. Is what I'm going to do. ES, scale that in. We want to get rid of the, well, we don't have a back face. Never mind. Never mind. We want to Alt click that and bevel that a little bit, just like that. And then we're going to click this, and we're going to extrude along the X to about like that. And then we'll click this, and we'll bevel that. And then we will shade smooth. And then what I'll do is I'm going to bring in a circle, or a UV sphere. We're going to try it this way. And I'm going to scale it down, move it out, scale on the X so it's more rounded, rotate Y 90. Well, let's back up a little bit before we scale it. Let's rotate it RY 90. Now let's go ahead and scale it on the X. And this is kind of like a, that sort of doorknob. And we're going to move it back. I want to focus just on these right now. Move it back until it just barely makes contact. And then we're going to go in here, and we're going to select not those. I want just these. Delete those faces since we're not going to need them. We're going to go back. We're going to select everything. And we're going to go into edge select, not that. We don't want that. We want the edge of this. Come on. Is it gonna let me select it? Okay, let's try this. Let's try selecting both of these. Go into edit mode, Shift, Alt, and click. Okay, so I do have that. I want to make sure I have only the faces that I want, and then we're going to go loop tools, and didn't work. Did not work. So let's do face, no, edge. Let's see, why isn't that working? And we'll go and we will set it in like that. I suppose it doesn't entirely matter if this sort of goes inward like that. And we'll just kind of make something like that. And then we will sort of push that in. Messed it all up. What happened there? Yeah, we'll just go with that. And I think that'll be sufficient for our needs. Shade smooth. And I kind of want to flatten this area out just a little bit. So how I think I'm going to try doing that is selecting all of this and flatten. That didn't exactly work the way I wanted it to, but let me move it back a little bit. And yeah, I think that that looks fine. Maybe we'll sort of a little bit more definition on it with some edge loops. Do something like that, perhaps. All right. And I don't think we needed a weighted normal on it, but why not? Just in case there were anything that we didn't want. Okay. Let's go ahead and join those, back out, and select those two things, zoom in on those. Select this. It's already sort of in there, so let's go ahead and delete this face real quick. Delete that. That looks fine. Okay, now next we have kind of like a key lock type deal. So what I think I'll do is I'll just do cursor to selected, bring in another circle, scale Y 90, scale it down, move it out so I can kind of see what I'm doing. And zoom in on my reference image. It's going to be slightly smaller than the doorknob itself. So let's scale it down, probably like that. And we'll go into edit mode. And there's no real good way of sort of seeing how far back it goes. So let's edit mode, add a face. I guess I didn't really want to add a face, but yeah, we'll delete it afterwards. I need to get my bearings really quick. What am I doing? There we go. Merge everything by distance. Apply scale and rotation. E, X. And we will probably go something like, you know what? I'm going to make it the thickness. Let's snap to there. Merge by distance, edge select, and we want to scale this in just a tad. Give us something like that. And now we want to go back and delete this face. And we're going to bevel this just with 3, like that, shade smooth. And go back into here, select this, I'd inset it. Oh, I think I messed something up there, so let's go like that. I'd inset. Actually, we don't even really need the inset. Let's just go E, Alt S, and go like that. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then what we will do is we will bevel this slightly, just a little bit. And then bevel this slightly, just a little bit. And then maybe, let me see, that looks fine. And well, we're going to add the little portion that the lock is going to actually go onto, or the keyhole. And so to do that, we will ES. And looking at the image, it's probably going to be something like that. And it's going to be kind of stick out a little bit, maybe the same as that. And then we will click that and bevel it just a tad. Click that, bevel it just a tad. And then we'll select everything, merge by distance. We removed a lot of vertices there. Okay, so, no, and that's why. So let's go back and let's make this bevel a little bit more. Let's just do 2. And let's just do that. We'll do that with both of these. We'll just bevel those with 2. Something like that. And then select everything, merge by distance. Okay, so we got rid of some more of our beveling on this edge here. So let's go like that. And perhaps get rid of the middle one. So just dissolve edge and dissolve edge. And I think that still looks fine. We'll put something in there to sort of clean it up. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to slap an edge loop in there to tidy it up, sharpen it up just a wee bit, something like that. Yeah, I think that looks fine. I think that will do. And we got this face here. Let's see, what else do I want to do here? Auto smooth, let's see, let's weighted normals. Yeah, that kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And we zoom out, we get something like that. And I could possibly put the keyhole in there. I think what I'll do is I will slide this up just a tad. And then GG to slide that down just a tad. Yeah. Maybe do the same with this GG, just kind of slide that. Yeah, that looks fine. And then I'll take the whole thing and sort of move it into the door. And apply the weighted normals on this. Apply the weighted normals on everything else. Make sure everything's applied. And we'll join that. And then join that. I think for the keyhole, I'll just do that in like a texture. I don't think there's any reason to do it in geometry. And then we'll just slide this in until it just barely goes into there. Oh, maybe a little bit like that. Yeah, bring it out a little bit. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, and there's our door. All right, so let's join this with the door. You know what? This actually, we're going to break that off and we're going to move it down just a tad. Right there. And then rejoin that. We'll focus just on our frame. Go up like that. Select that. Set the origin to geometry. And go. And yeah, that looks fine. Let's back out. I guess. I'm thinking I want to scale up the doorknob a little bit. Because if we focus on just those, yeah. That's a tiny doorknob. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Yeah, scale it up a little bit. We'll have to pull it back out a little bit. And we'll do the same with the lock. Like that. And then we will apply rotation and scale. And yeah, that looks a little better. Okay, so we have that with that, and I believe we're done with our doors. Yeah, so what I will now do is I'm going to join those, the door frame with the door. Ooh, all right, hold on. There's something, there we go. Let's apply that. And we'll join that. And we do have a little bit of an issue here, actually. So let's back up and see if we cannot fix that with a weighted modifier. Let's apply all. That kind of fixed it. And there we go. That will do. Let's switch to a different matte cap real quick and see what it looks like. Make sure everything sort of looks. We're not going to see that, so we can actually get rid of these back faces. Delete faces. And delete the back faces here. And delete edges. Go back. And what kind of damage did that do? Let's go back. Let's go to face select. Yeah, looks like it's selecting all the faces we want. Let's delete those faces. I suppose we'll have a couple extra faces, but that's fine. Not a huge deal. We could come in here and just I'll click that and delete that face. I'll click this and delete this face. So we just have the frame. Now let's back out of that. Let's focus on this because we do have some faces that aren't going to be seen on this, which is going to be that. Like I said, we're not going to be seeing that. And we'll scale, we'll look at it from this view. That view, actually, but let's focus in on just those. What am I doing? Come on now. And focus in on just those for the graphic and kind of scale it up. We'll actually do this by wireframe. And we will move that up just a little bit. Go like that. Go like that. Make sure we have shift. Scale Y just a little bit. And just like that. Like I said, the door, they're not interactable or anything like that. Holy moly. And that is because we have a material set to it. So I'm just going to remove that material. All right, I think we are ready to join them. So we'll go ahead and join. Oh, I have something that I didn't apply. Let's figure that out. Let's join that. And there is a door. And I'm going to propagate this to everywhere that I know this door goes. And then we got GY. And then I will just continue to do that. And in the next video, we'll work on the other doors. All right, talk to you later.